My wedding planner was 3 walls away, the string quartet was already playing, and the man I was supposed to marry stood in front of me with his hand out like I was about to hand him evidence. "Open every account before the vows," Reed said. He did not say it softly. He did not say it like a joke. He said it like a deadline. His mother, Daphne Holloway, stood beside him in a pearl suit that cost more than my first apartment, holding our prenuptial agreement open to the last addendum. She had a legal pad on the table with neat columns already drawn: bank, account type, current balance, liquid assets. For one strange second, all I could hear was the music from the next room and the low murmur of guests settling into their seats. It should have sounded romantic. Instead, it sounded like the countdown before an execution. Reed kept his palm out. "Your phone," he said. Daphne smiled the way people smile when they think they are being reasonable while they do something cruel. "This takes 2 minutes, Evelyn. We close this out, then you walk in there and have a beautiful ceremony." I looked at the pad, then at the addendum, then at Reed. "You want me to stand here in my wedding dress and open my banking apps for the 2 of you," I said. Reed exhaled hard through his nose. "I want you to prove you are not hiding anything from me. Hold on, be honest. If you were in your wedding dress and the man waiting to marry you demanded your banking app 10 minutes before vows, would you sign or would you walk? Type one word: sign or walk." Daphne slid my phone across the table toward me. "A marriage cannot start with shadows," she said. "Neither can a loan review," I said. They both went still. I picked up my bouquet, set it down more carefully than I felt, and looked at Reed. "I will open every account right after somebody reads your loan file first." That was the moment the room changed shape. Not the wedding room, not the bride room, not the place where a family was helping me into a new life. It became what it had really been all along: a private underwriting meeting with flowers. 3 days earlier, I had still been trying to give everyone the benefit of the doubt. That is the embarrassing part. Not that I almost married a man who wanted my balances more than he wanted me. The embarrassing part is that I kept telling myself there had to be a less ugly explanation. Daphne started it over espresso in my kitchen. She had dropped by to talk final seating floral choices, and whether the brass lanterns at the reception were too rustic for the Holloway side. Reed stood by the counter answering emails, distracted in that polished way he had mastered, where he looked busy enough to avoid eye contact but alert enough to jump in if he needed control. Daphne stirred her coffee and asked where I kept the proceeds from selling my shares in my old company. It was not the first time she had asked me about money, but it was the first time she sounded less like a future mother-in-law and more like a lender. "Mostly in cash equivalents," I said. She nodded. "Money market. Some of it. Can you move it same day?" I looked up from the seating chart. "Why?" "Just planning," she said. "Liquid assets make life easier," Reed said, "Mom," too quickly. She smiled at him, then back at me. "I just like knowing my children are set up properly." I let it go, outwardly. Inwardly, I started counting. How many times in the last 2 weeks had Reed suddenly become fixated on financial transparency? How many times had Daphne used words like structure, exposure, liquidity, and documentation in conversations that were supposed to be about marriage? How many times had Reed insisted that the prenup had to be closed before the weekend, then gotten irritated when I told him Mara, my attorney, was still reviewing the addendum? That same afternoon, Reed called me from his car and sounded irritated before I even said hello. "We need to stop dragging this out," he said. "It is a prenup, not a merger." "Then why does your mother talk like a banker every time she brings it up?" "Because she is practical." "No," I said. "She is specific." "There is a difference." He went quiet. "Evelyn, you always do this right before something important. You start pulling threads and acting like normal paperwork is a conspiracy." "Normal paperwork does not require me to open my banking apps in real time," I said. He did not answer that either. That night, I got an email from Owen Bell, the Holloway family attorney. "Final addendum for execution before ceremony," the subject line said. I opened it at my kitchen table with a cold cup of tea at my elbow and 6 tabs open for vendor confirmations. The prenup itself was bad enough. It was polished one-sided and carefully written to sound elegant while securing almost everything that mattered for his side. I brought in my own assets. I kept my own assets. Fine. He brought in his. He kept his. Fine. But the new addendum was where the claws were. It required complete disclosure of all present liquid accounts, present cash equivalents, brokerage cash positions, and any other readily accessible funds. It also required periodic updates after marriage if there were material changes in accessible liquidity. If disclosure was incomplete, the agreement allowed an adverse inference about concealment, misrepresentation, or bad faith. It was dressed up as transparency. It was really access. Then I noticed an attachment that should not have been there. Mariner Covenant Review Checklist Monday. I almost skipped it because it sounded like bank garbage. Then I opened it. I read the first line and sat up straighter. Evidence of household liquidity. I read the next. Verification of accessible cash positions. Then the next. Documentation regarding future spouse accounts where relevant to post-marriage household capacity. I opened the addendum again and started going back and forth between the two files. Accessible cash positions, liquid assets, verification, future spouse, household capacity, same language, same rhythm, same ugly little fingerprints. By then I was not thinking transparency anymore. I was thinking paperwork. So tell me, what were they really after my money, or my name on a file? Comment money or name. I called Mara. I think they sent me something by mistake, I said. 10 minutes later I was in her office with both documents printed, highlighted, and laid flat between us. Mara did not waste my time with reassurance. This is not about marital trust, she said. This is about liquidity. Say that like I am not a lawyer, I said. She tapped the checklist. This is a lender review for Reed, or one of the Holloway entities. They are under a covenant review. Which means somebody borrowed a lot of money, promised to maintain certain financial conditions, and now those conditions are shaky. She tapped the addendum. This gives them a clean way to gather current information about your accessible cash. Then it gives them language to say you voluntarily disclosed it in connection with the marriage. If your balances are strong enough, your existence helps their story. Their story. That after the wedding, Reed becomes part of a household with substantial accessible liquidity, the kind a private bank likes to see when it decides whether to extend refinance or keep pretending it is not worried. I felt my whole body go cold in a clean, sharp way. So the prenup is a fishing net. It is a bridge, Mara said. Into your accounts. I sat back. Can they force me onto the debt? Not from this alone, she said. Not directly. That is what makes it so slippery. The danger is what comes next. Once they have your numbers, once the lender has your name in the picture, once the family starts saying this is what good spouses do, you get dragged into helping them protect a project that was never yours. I stared at the line that said future spouse accounts. They are not planning a marriage, I said. Mara looked at me. No, they are planning a loan file in a tuxedo. I should have canceled right then. I know that. Any sane person would have. But there is a difference between leaving because you are scared and leaving because you understand exactly what they were trying to do to you. I wanted them to show me their hands. I wanted Reed to choose out loud in his own voice whether he wanted a wife or a balance sheet. Mara made a few calls that afternoon. She was the kind of attorney who never sounded impressed by rich people, which was one of the reasons I trusted her. By the next morning, she had enough public records and off-record confirmation to turn suspicion into structure. Reed had an $8.4 million bridge loan tied to the renovation and expansion of the Astor House, one of the Holloway family wedding properties. Construction costs had gone over. Revenue timing had slipped. A covenant review was set for Monday morning. If the bank was not satisfied with post-marriage household liquidity, Reed would either have to inject real cash, accept punishing refinance terms, or risk the bank freezing further movement on the facility. They needed me to look like stability. They needed my cash to make his weakness photograph better. Mara explained it with painful calm. He does not need your love on paper. He needs your liquidity in context. I laughed once, and it sounded ugly. So that is why Daphne kept asking whether my money market positions settle same day. Mara nodded. That is not a mother-in-law question. That is a credit question. What if I do nothing? Then they will keep pushing. Probably harder. Families like this hate losing quietly. I looked out her window at the parking garage across the street and thought about the dress hanging in my closet. Thought about Reed, who had once kissed my forehead and said he loved that I never cared about showing off money. Thought about how in the end my privacy had probably made me more attractive to his family, not less. I was not flashy. I was disciplined, clean, quiet, lender-friendly. I turned back to Mara. I do not want to run before they corner me. Then do not, she said. Let them ask for it in full light. The rehearsal dinner the next night was everything the Holloways loved. Low candlelight, polished silver, expensive wine that everyone pretended to casually understand. I sat halfway down the long table with Reed on my left and Daphne at the far head like she was already presiding over a merger she had closed. Owen Bell was there too, technically as a guest, though nobody believed that. The conversation stayed harmless until dessert. Then Daphne rested her fingertips on the stem of her wine glass and said almost lazily that marriages rarely fail because of money itself. They fail because people bring secrets into them. A few of Reed relatives nodded. Owen added that families with multi-generational businesses learned early to remove ambiguity before vows. Reed reached for my hand under the table and squeezed too hard. Let us not do this tonight, he murmured. You started it the second your attorney sent that addendum, I whispered back. Daphne smiled down the table. If there is nothing to hide, then transparency should not feel like an insult. I smiled back. And if there is nothing to save, urgency should not feel like desperation. The table went quiet for half a beat. Reed looked at me, then really looked at me, with the first flicker of worry I had seen all week. After dinner I walked past the sideboard where coats and portfolios had been piled. Owen had left a folder half open beside a leather folio. I did not touch it. I did not need to. Across the top of the exposed page I saw the name Mariner. That was enough. Back in my hotel room that night I laid everything out on the bed. The prenup, the addendum, the checklist, my notes from Mara. I practiced exactly 3 sentences, not 10, not a speech, just 3 clean cuts. You do not need my trust, you need my balances. This is not a marriage document, it is a liquidity capture. I am not marrying your loan, Mara called close to midnight. Do not over-explain tomorrow, she said. I will not. Do not defend yourself before they accuse you. I know, and if he panics, let him talk. Men like Reed confess through denial. I looked at the dress bag hanging near the closet door. I am not leaving before they ask, I said. Good. Then make them ask for it with witnesses nearby. The next morning I was calm enough to scare my maid of honor. Hair, makeup, photographs, earrings, veil. The whole machinery of a wedding kept moving around me. Reed sent a text just after noon. We should do the last financial addendum privately before the ceremony, I texted back. Okay. 1 word. That was all it took to make them careless. My maid of honor Lena watched me while someone adjusted the train of my dress. You are too calm, she whispered. I met her eyes in the mirror. I am not calm, I said. I am clear. By the time they led me to the side room, I already knew exactly what would happen. Daphne would be holding the addendum open. Reed would try to make this feel intimate and reasonable. Owen would hover outside close enough to step in if they got what they needed. And somewhere nearby, the officiant would be waiting to turn their financial ambush into holy theater. That is exactly what happened. Back in the room, after I told them to read loan file first, Daphne recovered before he did. That is absurd, she said. Is it, I asked. Reed took a step toward me. You have gone through something that does not belong to you. There is a file called Mariner Covenant Review Checklist Monday, I said. It should not have been in the packet your lawyer sent me, but it was. And it uses the same language as this addendum. Daphne did not blink. You are misunderstanding business language. Then help me understand it, I said. I lifted the addendum and read from it. Accessible cash positions. Then I lifted the checklist. Accessible cash positions. I read the next phrase from the addendum. Verification of liquid accounts. Then from the checklist. Verification of household liquidity. I looked at Reed. Should I keep going? At that point, I had 2 choices. Expose them right there or play along and let them hang themselves. What would you do? Comment, expose, or play along. Reed jaw tightened. Evelyn, enough. Mariner Private Bank, I said. Covenant review Monday morning. The Astor House expansion. 8.4 million bridge facility. They need proof of post-marriage household liquidity, and that is why your mother is standing in front of me with a pad ready to write down my balances. For the first time, Daphne did not sound elegant. That is private. So is my money, I said. Reed reached for the phone again. You do not know what you are talking about. I tilted my head. Then say there is no covenant review. He did not. Say there is no bridge loan. He did not. Say this addendum has nothing to do with your Monday deadline. Silence. The music from the next room drifted in again, faint and beautiful and grotesque. Then Reed made the mistake Mara predicted. I just need you to help me through this one review, he said. After the refinance clears, everything settles down. I let that sit there. His face changed the second he heard himself. That was it. That was the sentence. Not I love you. Not trust me. Not I would never use you. I just need you to help me through this one review, like I was a short-term asset, like my role in this marriage had been to stand between him and a deadline. Thank you, I said softly. That is the first honest thing you have said all week, Daphne snapped. Do not be dramatic. Families support each other. Families ask, I said. They do not ambush brides for live account access 10 minutes before vows. Owen appeared fully in the doorway, then clearly deciding discretion had expired. Perhaps we should all take a breath, he said. I already did, I said. That is why Mara is on standby. I hit call and put my phone on speaker. Mara answered on the second ring. I am here. Mara, tell them what this addendum allows. It allows them to request disclosure and third-party verification of Miss Hart current liquid accounts, Mara said. And based on the lender materials I reviewed, it aligns directly with underwriting language for Mr. Holloway covenant review. Owen cut in fast. This is inappropriate. Mara did not miss a beat. What is inappropriate is bringing a bank compliance problem into a wedding suite and calling it transparency. Daphne turned white in a way I had not thought possible. Outside, someone knocked gently. 5 minutes, the wedding planner called through the door. Nobody answered. Reed lowered his voice and tried one last angle. We can still do the ceremony, he said. Then, sort this out, after. So you can spend tomorrow telling Mariner your household is fully liquid, I said. I would never force you into anything. You already did, I said. You just dressed it in vows and floral arrangements. He looked wrecked then, but not with shame, with panic. That mattered to me. I needed to see the difference. He was not broken because he had almost lost me. He was breaking because Monday was coming anyway. Daphne tried again, but this time, it was pure fear under the polish. If you walk out of this room, you humiliate this whole family. No, I said. Your family did that the second it brought a legal pad for my balances into my bridal suite. I folded the prenup calmly. I placed it on the table. Then I set the pen on top of it. I slid my ring off and laid it across the last page. Not because I needed drama, because I wanted the symbol exactly where the lie had been. I thought you wanted a wife, I said to Reed. He swallowed. I do. No, you do not. You want a balance sheet that looks stable until Monday morning. I turned to Daphne. And you do not want a daughter-in-law. You want a quiet source of clean liquidity. I picked up my bouquet. I am not marrying your loan. The knock came again, more uncertain this time. Are we ready? I opened the door. The planner stood there, smiling automatically, then stopped when she saw my face. No, I said. There is no ceremony. I stepped past her and into the hall. Reed said my name once behind me. I did not turn around. The string quartet was still playing. Guests were still seated. Somewhere, a flower girl was probably swinging her legs under a chair, wondering why adults were taking so long. I walked past all of it in a white dress that suddenly felt less like a wedding dress, and more like evidence from a case I had survived. Lena caught up to me near the side entrance, breathless. Are you okay? I pushed through the doors into the afternoon light. I just escaped a marriage with a bank, I said. She stared at me for half a second, then laughed the way people laugh when the truth is so brutal it sounds invented. By the time I got into the car, Mara had already sent notice that my financial information could not be used, referenced, or implied in any lender package, summary, update, or covenant response without immediate legal action. Reed called 12 times in the next 2 hours. I did not answer. Daphne left one voicemail. She said I had overreacted, endangered the family name, and ruined something beautiful over a misunderstanding. A misunderstanding is when someone forgets where they put your place card. This was a family trying to walk my liquidity into a bank file before I said I do. By Monday afternoon, I heard what happened through people who still talk to people around the hallways. Mariner did not get what it wanted. The review went badly. The bank demanded real cash support or harsher terms. Reed spent all day trying to scramble money he did not have. By Friday, the whispers had started. Not about me. About him. About why a man from a family like that had needed to pressure his bride for live account access minutes before the ceremony. About why an attorney had been hovering outside the bridal suite. About why the wedding never happened. Reed sent one last message that night. I loved you. I just got trapped. I stared at it for a full minute, then deleted it. No, he had not gotten trapped. He had simply met a woman who read the fine print before she let anyone turn her into collateral. If you like endings that are cold and clean like this, hit subscribe. I do not tell fairy tales here. I tell payback.